In this video, let's see how to crochet one of the best beginner projects to start. That's a wind spinner. So let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to diykraftz. For this project, I am using 4-ply fine weight 100% cotton yarn and a 2.5 mm crochet hook. Let's begin by making a slip knot. Make a circle on your hand and from the center of your circle, take a loop and pull it up. And this forms a knot, that is your slip knot. Now insert your hook into the loop and pull the working end to adjust the loop size. Now let's start by making a foundation chain. Yarn over and pull the loop out from the previous loop. So that is chain 1. Again yarn over and pull up a loop from the previous loop. So that's chain 2, then chain 3, yarn over again, and that's chain 4. Yarn over and chain 5. So likewise we will continue to make a long chain of 75. So you can adjust the chain according to your wish, like you can go up to 150 chains if you wanted a longer wind spinner. Hold your 75th chain and make additional chain. Now put your needle into the 75th chain. Now yarn over and pull up a loop from the foundation chain. Now you'll have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull the yarn out of both the loops at a time, and that is your single crochet. Now to mark the first stitch of the first row, I'm putting a stitch marker on top of this first single stitch. And now we'll continue to make single crochet stitches throughout the row. And now we are going to make only one single stitch in each chain. So insert the needle into the next chain, yarn over and pull up a loop. Again you'll have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and complete the single stitch. So that is one single stitch in the next chain. Now again into the next chain, insert your needle and pull up a loop. Yarn over and complete the single stitch. That's the third one. And then we are doing the 4th single stitch. So if you observe, there is one single stitch in each of the foundation chain. Now we will continue to make single crochet stitches throughout the row until you reach the end of the foundation chain. So by the end of the first row, we will have 75 single stitches, as the foundation chain I have made is of 75 chains. Now if you have more number of chains, then you will have more number of single crochet stitches. For example, if you have made 150 chains, then you will have 150 single stitches in your first row. So this is how your first row of single crochets should look like. Every stitch should be of equal size and looks even and neat throughout the row. Now let's fasten off the green color yarn, make chain 1 and then trim the excess thread, leaving a tail end of 2 to 3 inches. And then pull up a loop on your hook completely out of the last loop. So this makes a fasten off knot. Once the first row is completed, let us go back to the first stitch where we have put the stitch marker, and this is where we are going to start making the second row. Remove the stitch marker, put your needle in that very first stitch as shown in the video. Now grab a different color yarn. If you want, you can choose the same color yarn, but the color combination is what makes the wind spinner looks stunning. So now place the new color yarn on your hook as shown in the video and pull up a loop from the first chain. Now gently take the working end and then make chain 2. So this chain 2 is just like a height chain, and we are not counting this chain 2 as a stitch. So this is just like a dummy stitch. Now yarn over, hold the loops on your hook and insert your hook onto the first chain, like where we have put the stitch marker in the first row. Into the same stitch, insert your needle, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now you will have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop from the first 2 loops on your hook. Now you will have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and complete the stitch. So whatever stitch we have done now, it's called as a double crochet. So now this is the first double crochet of your second row, and to mark that, I'm going to put a stitch marker on top of this double stitch, not into the chain stitch. on top of a double stitch, I'm putting a stitch marker. Observe carefully. And now yarn over, insert the hook into the same stitch where we have done the first double stitch. Now yarn over and pull up a loop. Again you'll have 3 loops on the hook. Now yarn over, draw through first 2 loops, yarn over and draw through the next 2 loops. That is your second double crochet stitch. So in the same stitch we have done 2 double crochet stitches, which means this we call it as a DC increase. Now in the next stitch we are making first double crochet. So that is the first double stitch in your second stitch. And now into the same stitch we are making one more double crochet. So yarn over, insert into the same stitch, pull up a loop and make a double stitch. So if you observe closely, there are 2 double crochet stitches worked in the same stitch, that we call it as a DC increase. And now we are going to repeat the same thing throughout the row, which means in each and every stitch we are going to make 2 double crochet stitches. In other words, in each and every stitch we are going to make a DC increase and repeat it throughout the row until the last stitch. So now as we have 75 single crochet stitches in our row 1, and in row 2 we are making 2 stitches in each and every stitch, so which makes 150 double crochet stitches in your second row. So here I'm making the last couple of increases of the second row. There is one more stitch remaining. I'm making a double crochet increase in the last stitch also. So that's the first double stitch, and then into the same stitch make the second double crochet. Now we'll close the yarn. For that, make chain 1 and then trim the thread, leaving a tail end of 2 to 3 inches. And now pull the loop on your hook from the last loop completely and then make a knot. So this completes the second row, and this is how your wind spinner second row should look like. So as we have increases, I have 150 stitches by the end of the second row. Now go back to the stitch where we have put a stitch marker. Remove the stitch marker and into the same stitch put your needle. And this is where you're going to start your third row. Again, I'm taking a different color, so the blue color one, and I'm putting the yarn on top of the needle and pull up a loop from the first chain, the first stitch. So just like how we have done in the second row, we are going to make a chain 2. Again, this chain 2, we are considering it as a height chain and not as a double stitch. Now yarn over, insert the hook into the first stitch and pull up a loop, and now make 1 double crochet. So this double stitch is the first stitch of the third row, and to mark that I'm putting a stitch marker on top of the first stitch like this. And now into the same first stitch we are going to make 1 more double crochet. So yarn over, insert the needle into the same stitch where we have done the first DC and drop a loop, and then complete the double crochet. So here also we have done 2 DCs into the same stitch. In other words, we have done double crochet increase. And now in the next stitch we are making another double crochet increase. So that's the first DC, and into the same stitch we are making 1 more double crochet. So that is another DC increase in the next one, and we are going to continue to do double crochet increases throughout the row until you reach the last stitch. So in row 2 we have 300 double stitches, and now in the row 3 we are making double crochet increase in each and every stitch. So by the end of the third row we will have 600 double crochet stitches. So keep on doing it until you reach the last stitch. Don't forget to make DC increases in each and every stitch. Now here I am making the double crochet increases in the last couple of stitches remaining. Now we have reached the end of the third row. And now into the last stitch, making a DC increase, that's the first DC, and into the same stitch making 1 more DC. And just like how we have cut the yarn from the previous rows, we are going to do the same thing here. Chain 1 and trim the yarn, leaving a tail end of 2 to 3 inches. Pull out the loop and fasten off. After completing third row, your work should look something like this. There is no proper wind spinner shape, but we will get it once the project is completed. Now remove the stitch marker on top of the first stitch and put your needle there. And here I am again changing into a different color. I am choosing a yellow color yarn. Now put the yarn on your crochet hook and pull up a loop. So now for the hanging part, I am making chain 20. However, you can change the length of this hanging chain according to your requirement. So you can make it like chain 20 or chain 50, however length you wanted it to be. So once the chain is completed, we'll make a slip stitch on top of the first stitch. So for that, insert your hook onto the first chain like this, or the first stitch like this. Now yarn over and draw the yarn out of the chain and also on the loop on your hook. That is the slip stitch. And now chain 1 and then make a slip stitch in the next stitch. Insert, yarn over and draw the yarn out of all the loops on your hook. Again chain 1 and then make a slip stitch in the next stitch. So this one will give you a nice border texture for your wind spinner, and we are going to repeat this throughout the row. It's just a chain 1 followed by a slip stitch in the next stitch. Again chain 1 and then a slip stitch in the next stitch, and we are going to repeat this pattern throughout the row on top of each and every stitch until you reach the end. Now we have reached the end, so I'm just making the last few stitches. Chain 1 and the last slip stitch. Once the fourth row is completed, make chain 1 and then cut the yarn, leaving a tail end of 2 to 3 inches. Once it's done, now we have to weave in all the tail ends into the project for neat and clean finishings. So we have many threads, the starting threads and the finishing threads. For all of them, we have to use a tapestry needle. Insert the tail end into the tapestry needle. And now pass the needle through the nearby stitches only into the back loops so that it will not be seen on the other side of your work. And likewise insert it into a couple of stitches like 4 or 5 stitches, or as long as you wanted to hide your tail end. So make sure that tail end will be coming in between the stitches, that it will not be shown on either side of your project, and then trim the excess thread. And now we are going to repeat the same thing for the remaining tail ends as well. Weave in all the tail ends and trim all the excess threads close to the project. Now let us add a small tassel at the bottom of our work. So for that, I am taking all the 4 colors of yarn which we have used for making the wind spinner, and now I am wrapping it around my fingers for 10 times. So I will get a tassel of 80 threads. More or less you can change it according to your requirement. After having it for 10 wraps around my fingers, hold it gently and then trim the excess yarns at the bottom of your wraps. And now we'll have a base tassel like this. Take a small piece of yellow color yarn and attach it as shown in the video on top of the tassel. And now this helps us to keep all the threads at one place. Secure it with the second knot, and that's the tassel. And now to give even more detailing, I'm taking another small piece of yarn and I'm making one more knot from 1 inch from the top of the tassel as shown in the video. So this will give you a nice hanging part, and this will add a little bit weight to the wind spinner. And now identify the finishing part of the wind spinner. If you want, you can attach the beads as shown in the video. I have used a little bit of pearls and a gold bead. Attach it to this yellow thread, and then I'm going to attach this tassel at the end of our wind spinner. So after securing it, again weave in all the tail ends and then trim the excess threads. If you want, you can just add any figurines at the end of your tassel also. And now let's give the detailing part to the tassel. I'm going to trim the bottom loops of the tassel and gently trim the excess threads to make it look bushy and nice fluffy tassel at the bottom of my project. And here, instead of the tassel, you can put any flowers or honeybee or any shapes if you are like it. And now let us give the shape of the wind spinner. So slowly give it a gentle twist and adjust the spirals around the center, and this will give you the final wind spinner shape. After the shape is adjusted, your wind spinner is ready to decorate your home or lawn. You can try it in different color combinations and also add small bells to it if you like the sound of it. I hope you all enjoyed watching this tutorial. Do give this pattern a try and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Written pattern is given in the description. Do check it out. Don't forget to share your work to me on Instagram. See you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it and subscribe to diykraftz.